We're here with Penny Smith today celebrating her 1 year anniversary since winning a bronze medal in women's trap in Paris 2024. Penny, again, congratulations on your medal win. Can you give us a bit of a reflection on the past 12 months?
Yeah, it's really hard to believe that 12 months has passed since the Olympic Games. It sort of just feels like yesterday that we were going through the preparation, qualifying for the Olympic Games, obviously our two international competitions, and then leading into the Olympics. I mean, it's everyone's dream to win a medal at the Olympic Games. And for me, my dream was fulfilled. And yeah, the last, 6 months to 12 months has just been absolutely crazy. The support that I've been given and that I've got is just absolutely wonderful. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity and the success that I've had.
So you are now an Olympic medalist, Penny. Has anything been different in your life since that win?
Yeah, certainly, obviously coming off the Olympic Games, the hype was massive. The community rallied around me so much. Everybody knows who I am in my local town, obviously working in hospitality. People come in and you get talking and you sort of say, I'm an Olympian and I'm a bronze medalist. And, a lot of people are quite taken back by that coming from a small community. So for me, I still live my day-to-day life as normal, but underneath, life certainly does change a little bit winning a medal.
Can you talk us through, going into competition, then realizing you had secured a spot in the final and then, the 24 hours post winning that medal? For those who aren't behind the scenes on the ground at an Olympic Games, can you sort of describe what that process was like for you?
I often sit back and reflect about this quite a bit. The process leading in, the what ifs, the buts, the thoughts, the chances of winning a medal, the chances of making another Olympic final. Obviously for me, I didn't do it the easy way, having to shoot off in a sudden death shoot off. I remember coming off my last round shooting 25 and I said to Renee, have I made it? And she goes, oh no, you're going to have to shoot off to get in. And I was like, are you kidding me? Being a 121, 125, the scores were massive. And with all the commotion, with the septic tank going to be cleaned out when our sudden death shoot off was, added another element of challenge into the fact. And I knew once I hit my sudden death shoot off target, it was fair game. Obviously, I had flashbacks to Tokyo of my big disappointment there, and I knew that I wanted to do better leading forward. So just went in with an open mind and just gave it all that I possibly can. Obviously, once I knew that I'd won a bronze medal, I did start to well up. The tears did start to sort of flow a little bit, and then obviously, shot out for a bronze medal, which was absolutely amazing. Instantly after wanting to ring my family, the support of the Australian team was just a surreal feeling. And then, the next 24 hours after was pretty crazy. We got back from the range pretty late that night. And I know you and I, Jane, were up very early the next morning to head back into Paris for media all day. And an experience that I'll certainly never forget. The people that I met along the way, and, the surreal memories that I have in the photos is just, it's phenomenal.
You mentioned the septic tank. So, just before people were going to shoot off, there was a big tank reversing behind the layout wanting to empty the septics. And also leading into competition, Penny, you had an issue with the boots that you've worn for a number of years in competition and being told you weren't allowed to wear those. How important is it competing in a sport at this level to be able to adapt to a changing environment?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, for me, my boots are a significant part of my shooting kit. That's something that I'm sort of renowned for around the world, the girl that wears the boots sort of thing. But, to not be able to wear them at the Olympic Games, 2 days prior to competition, you have to be able to adapt to those things. I could have let that get to me and, let it derail my career for my shooting campaign for the Olympic Games. But I knew that I just had to let it go and, change my shoes and sort of get on with the job. So, that's what I did. And then obviously the septic tank wanting to be emptied right when the shoot off was. I remember, very vividly, I sort of turned around to look at Renee and she just pointed at me and looked very sternly and said, keep your eyes forward, like don't look back, don't get distracted. It's out of your control. And that's obviously what I did. I remember certain parts of the Olympics at that point, and there's other parts that I just don't remember at all.
So if we look back across the Australian Olympic team history, there's just over 4,500 athletes that have been selected to represent Australia at an Olympic Games. Paris saw 460 Australian athletes. When you think about the small amount of people that actually represent Australia at Olympic Games, then we talk about, a bronze medal. And there's some thinking that, if it's not gold, you need to do better. How does it feel to have that thinking coming through the community that it's a bronze medal, it's okay, there's another chance to go for gold in LA?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a hard challenge, to get to state level, national level, international level, and then to be able to qualify for an Olympic Games, especially in shooting in Australia for our females. We've got such depth in our sport, and then to be able to go to the Olympic Games and win a bronze medal, it's everyone's dream to obviously win, but to come home with any colour medal, I think, anyone would take it. If you'd have offered me a bronze medal before the Olympic Games, I certainly would have taken it myself, because it's such a significant achievement, doesn't matter what colour it is.
And I remember Anna Mears saying to us in a briefing, before we'd even started the nomination process for Paris, Penny, that once you make an Olympic team, you're already a winner, just based on the small number of people that actually make an Australian Olympic team.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, as I've stated that, it's obviously everyone's dream as an athlete to get to the Olympic Games. And Anna's words are very wise. She's been through it herself. She knows what it takes. She's had setbacks along the way and bounced back from that. So to be a part of that small community, to call myself a two-time Olympian and a bronze medalist is, very significant.
So looking back to the younger Penny, you obviously dabbled in a number of sports, Penny, before deciding, okay, shooting was the sporting career path you wanted to take. What do you think your younger self would tell the older Penny now?
Yeah, I mean, anything is possible in life. Nothing is a barrier. Obviously, I didn't quite think clay target shooting was going to be the path that I ended up on. Obviously, equestrian was major in the family and still is today. So that's certainly the younger self of mine. I would have thought that that's where I would have ended up, but very blessed and very fortunate that my brother Andrew got me into clay target shooting, and to be able to share that with him and also my family, it's just, it's wonderful. But I love sport, any sport. Yeah, it's a real passion.
You reflected earlier in this conversation, Penny, about, the emotion that you had once you'd stepped off the range, knowing that you had secured the bronze medal. And obviously there were cameras in your face ready for interviews straight away. You had the mixed zone that you wanted to go through. Who did you want to call, or who did you reach out as your first point of call, knowing that you have such a great support system behind the scenes?
Oh, definitely my mum and dad. I remember we went back to the little holding area before we went through the mixed zone, and I just kept saying to Renee, can I just have my phone? I just want to ring mum and dad. I knew that mum and dad were at home with my brother Andrew and his wife Georgie and their little girl Adelaide, and to ring them was such a really nice conversation. We often talk about how Andrew was sitting right at the base of the television at home watching it on TV. So, those little things that you flash back in your memories are just, really special. My parents have been my biggest driving force and always will be. So just wanted to be able to share that with them.
And just, Tokyo Olympic Games was quite different, 2020 plus one. Olympic Games, COVID, no spectators in any of the arenas. We've gone into Paris. The shooting was at a satellite site, so again, not an Olympic Village style. How important was it for you, once the shooting competitions had finished, to go back into the village, to be around the greater Australian team and celebrate your medal win with other Olympic medalists from 2024?
Yeah, it was really nice. Obviously, as you said, Tokyo was completely different to Paris. No crowds, no spectators. Obviously, probably didn't get to live it to the full extent that Olympic Games was. So being able to take that opportunity to head back into Paris for the last 5 days, go to the closing ceremony, being able to celebrate, the highs and lows with the rest of the Australian team. It's, you talk about it and people ask what the village is like and, the dining hall and all those kind of things. And it's quite a hard thing to explain to people because, there's no one mold fits everyone kind of thing. Everyone's riding the highs of success, the disappointment of not, performing to their best potential. But it's such a nice thing walking into the stadium on the last night and being able to share, the last 2.5 weeks of competition with everybody, not only as Australia as a country, but the rest of the world, and everyone gets around, everyone has a big celebration. So, I mean, it's such a special moment, and I'm really thankful that, us for shooters being in a satellite area, that we were able to go back into the village and be able to do that. So really fortunate.
And one thing that I guess we didn't think we would see Penny Smith doing is walking the catwalk with her medal. Can you talk us through that experience, Penny?
Yeah, obviously I'm not the most out there person, and I'm pretty shy in lots of ways. And, I remember talking to you about it, Jane, and obviously talking to my fellow teammates about it. And I sort of rang mum and dad and said, I've been given this opportunity to go to the catwalk. And, they sort of said to me, you'd be mad not to do it. Like, that is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I was as nervous as anything. Obviously got to take 4 of my teammates with me. And I tell you what, I had an absolute blast. It was the best thing ever. Obviously there was 13,500 people at the ceremony. It was a free entrance thing for the public. The music, the lights, the Eiffel Tower in the background. I've got some absolutely amazing photos from the catwalk. And yeah, obviously there was a couple of other girls there that were rowers as well. So I got to share it with them, and my goodness, it was the best experience ever.
So post Paris 2024, you did have some downtime after, a hectic preparation for the games. Back into competition early this year, you've had some medal successes, Grand Prix, World Cups. What are you setting yourself up for now looking ahead to LA 2028? And is that something that's on your radar?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, after the Olympic Games, I took some time away from shooting. You live this world of such a high for a period of time. Obviously, I had a lot of public speaking and a lot of commitments that I needed to fulfill. And then after that, got back into shooting at the start of the year, and then had some success this year, and then obviously world champs hopefully on the radar this year, and then building into Los Angeles. So we'll take it year by year for now and see what plays out.
Excellent. And then 2032, we have an amazing opportunity for a home Olympic Games in Brisbane. And now is the time for people to start, I guess, looking at that as an opportunity or as a goal. How would you encourage those who aren't potentially at an Olympic standard yet to just keep at it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a sprint. It's certainly a marathon. It takes years of preparation, dedication, time, sacrifice. But I mean, if you want it, you've just got to sacrifice the time to do it. I mean, for me, it's taken pretty much 15 years to get to where I am today. So it's not a quick fix. It's a slow burn, and then the good days are good, the bad days are bad, but just never give up. Just, if that's what you want to do, just go for it.
And just the last question, Penny, the shooting sports aren't necessarily deemed one of the big sports and don't necessarily get the promotion that some of the other sports get. Going to an Olympic Games, representing your country, coming home with a medal, how important is that for recognition in the sport and also exposure of the sport?
Yeah, obviously exposure is everything. Clay target shooting, as you said, is not high on the radar, obviously in Australia, but certainly for me and the community, it's been massive. There's a lot more kids getting into the sport, obviously a lot more females getting into the sport too. Obviously shooting not being a mainstream sport, your football, your netball, your mainstream sports aren't for everyone. So if, younger kids can get into clay target shooting, it's great. Like, not everyone's going to be that person on the footy field or the netball field. So it's good to have different options and different exposures. And, the amount of young kids that come up to me and say, oh, how old do you have to be to get into clay target shooting? Or I want to be a shooter like you. It's wonderful. And I think it's good for shooting in Australia. It's good for me, myself, and hopefully the younger community coming through.
And just finally, Penny, who would you like to thank, and who has been part of this journey with you that you basically couldn't have done what you've done or achieved what you've achieved without those in the background?
Yeah, I mean, obviously my support team that I have behind me has been a big part of it. My mum, my dad, my brother Andrew, the wider family that I have. you know, they've been absolutely fantastic. My sponsors, you know, Shooting Australia, for all the times and opportunities that you guys have given me, you know, the VIS in Melbourne, anyone that's stuck by me 100% of the way and believed in me, you know, obviously there's lots of people on the list that I could name, and obviously there's plenty that I've missed, but to everyone that's helped me, stuck by me, it means so much. So thank you very much to everyone.